30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10 seconds.
'Hi,
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it's time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with your host, Chase Dan McCauley, along with Cleo Duke-Wright. Good morning there, Miss Cleo. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good today.
How was your weekend?
It was fair. It was pretty good.
Do anything special?
Everything is special. No, I didn't do anything that I don't ordinarily do. You know, yes.
All right. Let me get your mic together here. You speak. There we go. Speak into that a little bit louder.
Okay.
There we go. So, any plans for the week coming up here? It's a big Tuesday. We got a whole lot of week left.
No, I know. Well, next week's my birthday, so I'm getting hepped up for my birthday and what I'm gonna do. And well, it's some of the things that I'll tell you. Some of the things that I was thinking about this week, and part of that was can I hold on one second, because this is a very important call. So
Okay. All right. Well, what we'll do is let's listen to a little Jay Hogarth. All right. And we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It's Morning Talk. The incomparable Jay Hogarth. Cleo's up. She say, now don't get lost in the jazz. I'm sitting over here. I'm getting it. My mind is going back. It was almost a year ago. I won't say to the day, but it's almost about a year ago that we recorded this at Van Gelder Studio in Inglewood Heights, I want to say, New Jersey. It's a cliff overlooking Manhattan. You know, you come across the George Washington Bridge, and as you're going towards New Jersey, it's right over there, right off the exit. Boom. And all of the greatest jazz artists on the planet. Blue Note.
Right there.
Right there.
And Stan was with
recording.
him.
I was man. And so I could get into this very, very easily.
I know. That's why I saw your face. I said, hey,
Stan, bring it back. Bring it.
Come on.
Bring it back. Bring it back. Yeah. Okay, so
I'm going to tell
you getting ready for your big birthday celebration?
Well, it's not going to be a big one except for me. Mm-hmm. It's always big for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't tell you that this week I was doing some insurance business. Insurance agent came to the house, and my husband was in the room. All of a sudden, we heard this big bang, and I jumped up because I knew he fell, and he brought down the TV, broke his TV, landed on his behind, and, you know, I've seen this so much. You get kind of indifferent. You see it so much. Instead of saying, "Oh, are you hurt?" I said, "Oh, you did it again." You know, that was really terrible. So we got him up and everything and put the TV up. He wasn't hurt. His buttocks was hurt just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I can see a little bit, but he had a great deal of pain there. And all of a sudden, he breaks his TV, so all these lines, colored lines, come on, and I see a little hole in it, and the TV in the front room freezes, and so that doesn't. So we now have no cable. So you call the cable company. They said everything is fine. Well, everything's not fine because it must have something to do with the broken TV. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, the house was so quiet. It was the most peaceful time. I couldn't believe how peaceful it was. I did not hurry and still have not hurried to get the TV fixed or to get the cable person to come back because it was so pleasant not to hear it. And my son had, he listens to it on his phone. He sees movies on his phone. But all these people have all these different programs. Some of them are very good.
Mm-hmm. You're watching on YouTube or
YouTube, and I don't know all the different how he does it, but all these different programs, and you know, I started listening to them. Some of them were very good, and I said, why don't we do that instead of listening to 15 commercials in 2 minutes of a TV show? In 15 commercials, we could just look at these, and these are just ordinary people with great ideas and good shows. And so some of them are more than I could take. Some of them go to the far end as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. But I think there's probably something for everybody there. And I said, boy, I wonder if this is the future to get away from all this manipulation in commercials and, you know, these fairy tales things, because, you know, I was looking at television the other day, all these smiling people jumping around like, so foolish, you know, selling a little soda or a little this, and it makes their whole life happy. They're just so wonderfully happy because they have this cream on their face. Because I'm saying, boy, we can bypass all that and just create shows like these over here of our own. And that's what I I was saying, boy, it would be so great not to hear all these commercials all of the time, constantly, eagerly waiting for your show to come back on. And it comes back on, they say 10 words and move around a little bit, and we're back to commercial. So.
Well, we have cable because of the internet. And so that's the only reason we have cable. But our cable, I have basic. I have the minimum cable you can have. And the only thing we actually watch on cable is ABC. That's it. And that's only when there's a football game on ABC. Other than that, we don't watch the cable. And the cable is only in this office. No other television in the house is hooked up to the cable. It's all
regular TV,
regular antenna TV. And so, but everybody here watches stuff online. And YouTube,
right?
Netflix. That's basically it. YouTube, Netflix. But I find myself watching YouTube way more. I watch YouTube whenever I eat. Like at dinner time, I watch something on YouTube, submarines or aviation or some sort of engineering or building program. There's tons of stuff
that you don't even have to listen to all that
it's
foolishness.
It's fascinating programming. Space,
That's what I found.
Underwater, there's so much good stuff to watch. So I don't watch regular TV.
Yeah, my son doesn't either. History.
This
was the other night, history on Africa,
mm-hmm.
and telling all of these things. Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
And how they went through Italy and Rome and all this before Christ.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I didn't realize it was before Christ. It was so fascinating. So the man was saying, they don't teach you this. They make all of this in their culture and their race. But Africans did this. And so he's talking about all these wonderful things and education on how educated and how smart. And I said, wow, I learned some of this in school, but not to the point where this man was talking about, So I was saying, wow, there's a lot on here. That and, there's the programs, Our Relationship, Men's View. This man, he really has an opinion about women.
Is this the guy that's all like in a suit and everything? And
Yeah.
Thinks he's like the Don Juan, real suave. He's a black guy.
Yeah, he's a black guy.
I don't know his name, and I've only seen a snippet of him. But if it's who I think it is, he's very popular.
And then I heard this man say on one of these shows, a woman was created for only one reason, and that's to take care of man. Wow. And I'm saying, wow. I'm going back to scripture. I'm saying, wow. Just that's the only reason.
Well,
and then I was, listening to Billie Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know? I think they'd jump her if she sang those songs today. My man. She'll do anything for her man. It doesn't matter what he wants. I'll do it. Just tell me what you want, man, and I got you. And then she was, I said, if you was living today, woo. So, I listened to her in the car, and I listened. Well, anyway, it's just a fascinating, just very fascinating to listen to things about women, which you don't, and that's not on TV. So,
well, there's a lot of people want to use the Bible to justify women being subjugated to men, but that is not consistent with Eve's creation. Eve was created to be a completer, not a slave or a deity, but to complete. And so Adam was lonely, so they created a partner, a completer, someone to make him complete. So woman the completer. I have a whole sermon around woman the completer. Yeah.
Oh,
she's a completer. That's why she's gifted with intuition. Men don't have intuition like women do. Women have intuition.
Uh-huh.
So a woman can intuitively know what that man needs to make him complete. But a man doesn't have the foggiest idea of what the woman needs to make her complete.
What? Men appear to be insecure and always fighting to say, they have to say, I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a man. And I never understood that. I never understood why a man has to constantly say he's a man.
It seems like he's reminding himself of that fact. I think it's self-evident, right?
Yeah. I say, okay, you're a man. But in my younger days, I used to say, of course, really, I didn't get along with males too well.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I wasn't very cooperative.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to say, you can't tell me whether you're a man or not. I said, a woman's got to tell you you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
If a woman doesn't say you're a man, you're not a man. Who else would know but a woman? And that would upset them, because they would be secure by another man saying he's a man. And I said, that don't count.
Mm-hmm.
I got to say you a man. And I haven't said it yet. I have to say that. A woman has to say that. When a woman says you're a man, you're a man. And you don't have to ever say it again. That she has confirmed your
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I thought that. I thought that. I really thought that that was true. Maybe because it was, my dad always said I'm a man. But I always thought, how do you know that unless I tell you that? Who are you a man to? You got to be a man to me. Who are you a man to? That was my little.
I think that's a pretty profound question. It's like, who's the man trying to be a man to? Like, why do you have to keep saying and proving? But men are insecure.
Men.
That would stand to reason as to why there's a completer. Insecure, incomplete, not fully whole, missing something. And so Eve, created from the rib, not the foot bone or the head bone, but to be a completer. She completes. They complete. They make together. They make a whole.
But I don't think a man knows what a woman is. He's so afraid. A lot of men are so afraid you're going to think he's feminine or you're going to think he's gay, that he doesn't. He's so afraid of that. Why are you so afraid that someone's going to think you're gay because you're passionate about something, or you're I don't do that.
Well, like what?
Like
Like if expressing emotion?
It's expressing emotion, expressing love or feelings. A lot of men shy away from that, even if they're feeling it. And it makes no sense to them shy away from it because you could see it. You don't have to say it. You could see it, but they shy away from that, or like I was saying last week, they don't say that. I know some men will say, "Hey, that guy is really handsome," but most men won't.
Well, that's that's just man law. And you, as a man, you generally don't compliment another man for his handsomeness.
Why? When I can compliment a woman, if I see a beautiful woman, I can say she's a beautiful.
I think those are just ingrained, hardwired gender differences. Women will acknowledge each other's beauty. It's different. Men don't acknowledge each other's appearance. I think that men will give props to somebody who's accomplished athletically, or in a competitive or like he can lift a lot of weight, something like that. But another man would never say about a man, "Oh, he's so muscular." I mean, that's not a manly thing to say to another man.
Well, my son has a lot of muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at a picnic, and these young men came up to him and said, "How do I get like that?
Mm-hmm.
How do I build my muscles up like that?" Not that they admired it, but
right. That would be well within the realm of a normal, it would be like, how can I become a doctor, or how can I become a scientist, or I wish I could work on I wish I was where'd you learn so much about cars or about maintenance, like being a mechanic? That there's something that you would like to have that they have, therefore could you teach me or show me? That's different than, "Oh, you so muscular." That's like to get you slapped up if said in the wrong way. But women acknowledge other women differently. Now, I've also heard some women give the side eye to other women.
Oh yeah.
Oh, no, that's she should know better to come out the house looking like that,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And women can be ruthlessly brutal to other women.
Yes. Yes, they can. They go the whole line. The whole
cut you without
Absolutely.
Well, you realize you bleed. Now, what happened to my neck? Oh my God, I've been cut. I've been stabbed up.
But they could also, women are like that. They do it to men. They'll cut him down without saying 10 words. Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
It is not, you look at someone and say, "It is not wise for you to come any closer to me."
I think
women
I think people have admiration for other people. How you express that admiration is cultural. It's there are cultural norms, there's a social dynamic and range in what's acceptable and not acceptable. Certain things may be acceptable in certain areas. In certain countries, you greet each other with a kiss on the cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And in other countries, if you kiss another man on the cheek, you like to get punched in the face because it's not an acceptable norm.
Right.
Like church folks will greet each other with a hug. It's very, very common in church circles to greet everyone with a hug, men or women.
Right.
A man would give another man a hug, but differently a hug to a woman. So I mean, there's certain things that there's just some norms. Because if you hug a woman, now it's not a sisterly, brotherly hug. Now you need that's what do you do? That's not no hug.
Okay, Brother John, that's enough.
Right. Pastor. So I mean,
That's true, yeah.
So I think there's
a lot of, that's true.
we speak there's so much of our conversation that's unspoken. With looks, social interaction, the way you distance yourself from somebody, or you're in their personal space, you
should do a movie with no words.
Oh.
Do a movie with no words. Just, silent pictures were a success. Everybody couldn't read those captions.
Oh, before the talkies.
Before the talkies. I saw John Barrymore, because when I was a kid, they used to do silent pictures on Thursdays or something.
Mm-hmm.
They used to put on silent pictures. Mary Pickford and all those people I learned when I was a kid. And John Barrymore was playing Dracula. I mean, with no makeup. And he was really Dracula. I mean, he was really scary. And they said he didn't put on a lot of makeup to play Dracula. He became Dracula, Mm-hmm. And I watched that movie. I would read a little caption, but I couldn't keep up with those words, And I watched that thing all the way through. It was wonderful. And there was just so many other silent pictures that were wonderful to watch. And they were very popular in those days. People didn't need words.
Mel Brooks' silent movie. It was a more modern, but it was a spoof, of course. But I mean, it was. But that would be interesting. The idea that you put forward of a more modern, like a right now movie, but the subtlety of the unspoken communication. Like looking at people. If you make eyes at somebody. You could make eyes at somebody, and everyone in the room will know you making eyes. Mm-hmm. So, you could look at people certain ways, and, young kids get in trouble. Like in certain cultures, particularly like in African American, these are two that most people are familiar with, social, cultural differences.
Yeah. What you looking
in
at?
African American community, if you're being scolded and you cut your eyes, that's like to get you in the hospital.
Don't roll them.
And, roll your eyes. Oh. But in Latin communities, you don't look directly at the parent when you're being scolded. Look at me when I'm talking to you. That's very, very much African American.
Right.
Don't you? When I talk to you, look at me when I'm talking to you. Whereas in other, so there's all kinds of things that you do and don't do.
Even the, not only your eyes, but even the way you stand.
Yes.
Where even, if you're being scolded,
mm-hmm.
and you stand a certain way, like, that may knock you out too. That may punish you for So.
And there's the whole unspoken the unspoken rules. There's tons of them, and particularly within corporate culture or in a work atmosphere. The unspoken rules that the new person doesn't know, that you have to find someone on the job who will tell you or mentor you or walk you through, Now, we're going to get ready to go into the meeting. Don't ask any questions until after the boss asks a question. If you ask a question first, it's going to be rough. All these kinds of things that no one knows except the people that have been around.
Right.
Everybody stands up, then he comes in. Like a courtroom, everybody. All rise. You want to sit down? Oh, the knee, that was a huge thing. Remember when Colin Kaepernick?
Say that again?
Remember when Colin Kaepernick took the knee?
Oh.
In the football. So there's certain things that you can say or do that are outright. The middle finger.
Right.
Or the,
but I don't, when they raised their hand and did this.
Black power.
Well, we had not seen that before. Why was it so all of a sudden, these three guys are up there and they just go like that?
Well, by that time, everyone knew what that meant.
By the time they did that, we all knew?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Remember, you had the Afro pick?
Oh,
the Afro pick with the fist on it?
I thought that came after. They did that.
Well, it could. I was young. It's the 60s, so I was in my...
I thought that, but I can remember looking at that.
A sign of solidarity
and when
with the civil rights and African American struggle.
Such a pride came up in you. When they did that, I don't know. I can remember such a feeling of.
Okay, so
pride.
then maybe I don't see. I don't know. I don't know. I have to double check.
But I don't know if we saw that before that time. I think they did it first, and they made that. I don't know. So you'd have to ask someone. But
I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna look it up on Google.
Okay. That when they did that was
the origin of the Black Power fist.
According to Wikipedia, at the 1968 Summer Olympics in Mexico City,
Yep.
medal winners John Carlos and Tommy Smith gave the raised fist salute during the American national anthem as a sign of Black Power and as a protest on behalf of the Olympic Project for Human Rights.
That was the origin.
that was the first.
You're right.
And
But
when they did
that, everyone kind of bond. And that's why I'm speaking about when I talk about the power of the unspoken word with symbol. It was just as powerful as they had said that out loud.
Right. When they did that, we all knew. And you got such a rush when they did it. So it was a fantastic time. But nobody said they created that. I wonder if they sat in a room and said, we're going to do this fist. So the fist means what? This is, we're all together. We're all together, I guess.
A resistance.
Yeah.
Unity. Struggle. It's used all over the world now, of course.
It is.
I don't know. We'll have to get a historian expert in here to talk about that'd be a good subject. I have a special guest coming on today for a special program.
Oh, really?
Speaking of struggle and unity and deep dive into all kinds of things today at 1:00.
I just.
It should be a good program. I would tell you all, but I have a rule: never promote a guest until after they get here.
Okay. When is it coming on today?
It's going to be live, I think. I should know. But I still have. It'll be live. We're going to do it live. Live at 1. But very few people watch us live. Most people don't watch us live. Most people watch the program throughout the week as it,
as it comes.
As it goes forward. But like Netflix. People watch everything on demand, like you do.
Yes, and I think that that's so much better.
Absolutely, you watch it when you want to watch it. When you're ready to watch it, you sit down and watch. That's the way I watch TV or watch content now, streaming.
A lot of my, I don't know if a lot of them, but people I know are not wanting to be on cable. Most of my personal friends don't even have cable. They watch regular TV. They said, they were just.
There's nothing on.
There's nothing.
There's nothing on, and stuff is just so. It's so bad, which kind of like full circle with what you were talking about with the silent movies. In the infancy of motion pictures, the people acted. You had to you had to over express yourself like you do on the stage. Mm-hmm. On the stage you have to be overly dramatic because your presence on stage is small relative to where people can see you. It's not like you're on this huge screen. So if you have to watch something where there's really, really, really good actors, and that'll captivate you. But most stuff is just so bad. The acting is bad. The people, the storyline is bad.
They just throw anything and everything at us.
Yeah,
no pride anymore. Mm-mm. Just get the money.
Everything is is about the money. We've
lost something. So we're losing. We're losing. I think we're losing, and that's really
greed.
Terrible. Yeah.
Greed and money. Well, the love of money is the root of all evil, and you can see it. It doesn't really matter what you're talking about either. Healthcare, politics, the church, nonprofits. Everything is geared around money. And once money takes center stage, nothing else matters.
Nope. Look at our doctors. Oh gosh. We don't even have that doctor anymore that we used to know when we were years ago.
Took care of you.
That actually really took care of you.
And knew you.
And knew you.
And was a real humanitarian. Wanted you to get well.
We don't have, I was saying the other day, we don't have Florence Nightingale hospitals anymore. They don't even, probably a lot of people don't even know who Florence Nightingale is. You're looking at me. Do you know?
I'm looking at you like I don't know who Florence Nightingale is, so that you'll explain it to the people who don't know who Florence
Nightingale was one of the first nurses. It started hospitals, and she was a great humanitarian. Mm-hmm. And so when I say a Florence Nightingale hospital, I mean a giving, caring place. And we don't have that anymore. And they used to, stories about Florence Nightingale used to come on TV. Story of Florence Nightingale. But who knows who she is anymore?
Look where we are now. We have hospitals that are closing because the revenue isn't there. So in many parts of the country and many places around the state, hospitals are closed. So there's no maternity wing there anymore. So now if you're getting ready to have a child, you have to go extra far. So they're people talk about food deserts and how we need to have supermarkets opened up where there was no supermarket there, or there is no supermarket. And so people would like to have one because there's a desert. But where there's a hospital, they're closing the hospital. They're creating a health desert, if you will.
We have very few hospitals. I think we have corporations that take care of us.
Corporations that profit off of the need to give us health care.
Hospitals are corporations now, and they're not hospitals.
Mm-hmm.
Nurses don't look like nurses. Doctors don't look like doctors. And someone who comes in and really wants to be a real nurse is going to have a very hard time.
My 62-year-old little sister, she's 62? Yeah, she'll be 63 in October. Yeah, she just turned 62. Or did she turn 63? It seems odd, because I can remember when we were 7 and 8. But she just graduated from nursing school. She is so happy. It took her 20 years. And the odd thing is, she's in the hospital she was doing the nursing in, like the schooling,
mm-hmm.
is the same hospital where now she's working. She went from an aide to being a nurse, but she's always wanted to be a nurse. Following in my mother was a nurse who went on to become a doctor, so she's always wanted to be a nurse, and so she's been on and off for 20 years.
But that's happening more and more today. We have a person in our church
mm-hmm.
who is going. She got her state certificate for nurses aid, and now she's going on to nursing, and she is in her 60s or early 70s. She's going on to, I don't think she's 70. She's in her 60s,
mm-hmm.
going on to become a nurse. And she was at the top of her class. And she said these kids come in there and don't pay attention. Irritated her. She said, put their feet up on the desk, and they would go. A lot of them, she said, they were there. It was mandatory.
Mm-hmm.
So they were there. They didn't pass the test. And here she is getting these high grades, and these kids are flunking out.
And by kids, you mean 20s and
yeah. They're not even paying it. She says they're not even paying attention. They're not even paying attention. And her teachers and guidance said, keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
So she's still in there. She's gonna keep on going. But I think that there's a lot. And then I met someone this last week that now went back to college. She says, well, it's free. I'm taking courses. I'm back
mm-hmm.
in. So it's more exciting for people of age than for young people.
Well, 70 is the new 40.
I don't think so. I don't think so. Well,
I like to do that, because if 70 is the new 40, then that means 20 is the new infant.
Well, my next birthday, I said to my employer, I said, I don't know, my next birthday. Her mother's only maybe 2 or 3 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh no, I'm getting there. Maybe I should stop.
No, don't stop. Work is the fountain of youth. To have purpose and to do. Because my dad's 90 years old. He'll be 91. I thought he was 91, but he's 90. And he, he suffered from the stroke. He's much better. But it is clear that he can't go back to independent living just on his own, because they said just a fall hazard. And that's what my sister's really worried about right now. He's in rehab and he's coming along, but he's not going to have the same mobility that he had before. He's going to have to use a walker.
Is he going to be able to go drive the bus?
Oh, no. He could be a monitor on the bus, but he can't drive the bus. And he's very upset about that, because he used to drive the bus every day and the kids, and now he feels like he has no purpose and things like that. And, because he would get up and he'd go out and he'd see the kids and they would call him Mr. James, and he would drive them around, and that's what he lived for.
Well, he can still do that as a monitor. Only he can have more time with the kids,
Right, but my sister's really afraid that he'll fall. Like you were talking about with Willie. Yeah, and so she's definitely afraid of him falling. So
he may not go back.
Yeah, I think he's gonna live with her. I think she's trying to get me to be cool with him living with her, because there was a lot of talk about him coming here. Mm-hmm. And at first I thought she was saying, well, he has to come and live with you. But it's quite the opposite. I think she was, so
she really wants him to come live with her.
I think so. And then we had a longer conversation yesterday. I'll call her later on today, but I think that's what's going to happen. She doesn't want him where he was living on his own. And
she did. Well, I wouldn't want my parent at 90 and who's had a stroke to.
Right, but she right now the rehab center that he is at the same hospital he was at, and she's working at that hospital now as a nurse, which is just too interesting. But it's been my observation that if you are in healthcare and you have family that is in need of healthcare and they're at the hospital where you work, they get much better care.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
It's like you're taking care of a member of the family.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, you want to talk about favor? You always want to go to a hospital where you have family members working, if you can.
When I was a surgical tech, the doctors treated us for either nothing or just the insurance money. I don't know if they ever got paid. Dr. Deming, who was a famous plastic surgeon, he did my ears, and he didn't charge me anything. Dr. Painter took something out of my eye. He didn't do, they just because it's
professional courtesy.
It's professional courtesy.
Yeah.
When I had my babies, I had professional courtesy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's at least as of right now, from what I can tell and what I've observed, there is still professional courtesy extended to most professions and most things that people do. That's still around. I think it's like the last thing that's still around is professional courtesy that people do.
That has not gone away yet. Mm-mm. I want to, with all these changes in the person is minimized. How do we keep our mental health? How do we stay healthy mentally with all the stuff that's we have to deal with going around? And actually, we really don't have to deal with it, but we have to learn that. Mm-hmm. But how do you keep your mental health? There was someone that my son was telling me that this woman who taught mental health and exercise and everything and committed suicide.
Oh my.
How do you keep your mental health? How do you keep your children healthy? How do you keep yourself healthy? with all this going around.
Well, you definitely need to be grounded, and
Because we got a lot of mental health here.
yeah,
A lot of people who you could see it. What is going on in the world, and all the shootings and the killings and the
I'm telling you,
and the suicides and
the mental health is real, but a component of mental health is spiritual health, and with the decline of spirituality, with the decline of quote unquote people's relationship with a higher being, with God, with something greater than themselves, where they're not so centered and focused on self, where that declines, you see everything else start to rise. And people are they're in such a search for something. And they're unable, I was going to say they're incapable, but they're unable to reach for what it is they're trying to get. It's like you're in a cage and the key to the cage is 3 inches from your reach. You can put your arm through the bars of the cage, but you can't reach the key. And it's there. And you're driving yourself insane trying to reach for something that's just outside of your reach. And people are looking for purpose. They're looking for meaning. They're trying to find meaning in themselves. Maybe I'm the wrong gender. If I could be richer, if I could be thinner, if I could be blacker, if I could be whiter, if I could be this, if I could be that, then I'll be happy. Then they do this and they're not happy. And then, they're searching for that missing thing within them. They're not complete. They need something, and that's what they search for.
And they're not able. Well, a lot of us are not able to get it at the churches.
But a lot of churches right now really aren't doing a good job of centering folk in what the church is supposed to be centering folks in. The church has become more of a social service agency than a place to get spiritually fed. There's a spiritual component to human beings. And their spirit person is starving to death. They're starving to death. If the person is morally grounded, then everything else will fall into place. People will do service. They'll do volunteer work. There's something greater than you that matters, that you feel that you have to give an account to. So you just do better. There's something in you that drives you to do better, to help people. The hospitals were not born out of corporate greed. They were born out of people who had faith in God.
Absolutely.
And saw another human being in need and would do whatever they could to help them. They weren't trying to make money. It was a calling. Now, if folk can't make a dime, you can sit outside. And we have this sense of, well, if I can afford better health care, I should be able to get better health care. Let the people that are poor suffer. They need to just get a better job. Then they'll be able to afford better health care. Or the government should take care. There's no, how can I help you? No one wants to help. And I think that's due in large part to the fact that people are more concerned about themselves and only themselves.
I don't know. How did we get here? We didn't start here. How did we get to this point?
That's a deep subject for another time.
Stop caring. How did we ever get here? Yes, I guess it is a deep. Yes, you're gonna have to get some experts in here.
Absolutely.
And say, how did we get here, and how do you think we can get out of this? Because we need to get out of it. We better get out of it because it's getting worse.
It's definitely getting worse.
Yeah, we're getting worse.
J. Hogarth's composition, In the Beginning, God. No, it's actually In the Beginning, Praise God. And I think we leave that. And so we praise ourselves now. And the world is falling into decay. Well, the Bible speaks of this time. Yeah. All right, Miss Cleo, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. So if you around black folks and it's birthday, everyone sing that song, you know. Happy birthday to you.
Well, I'm glad you didn't ask me how old I was going to be.
You're going to be 30 years young.
30 years, yeah. That was the birthday that was my crisis birthday. When I turned 30. I thought, oh my God, I'm not 28 something, I'm 30 years old. Oh my God.
And only now do you realize how young and immature 30-year-olders are.
Oh my gosh, how absolutely. Absolutely.
But you can't tell them that. It's like trying to tell a 12-year-old you're not grown. What do you know? You're not a kid. No, actually, I was your age.
Oh my gosh, we know so much when we know so little.
Oh, that's profound. We know so much when we know so little.
Oh my goodness. You could sit there, and a lot of us could sit down and think. Just go back to a few years and said, oh my gosh, why did I go do that? Oh my goodness. Can I just go back just a little? I want to change that.
Right, go
I
back.
don't want to do that.
Take my 64-year-old self back to when I was 15 and start from there.
Oh gosh, what decisions that I would make differently. But as we get comfortable in our age, it takes a long time to get comfortable with age. And then you try to tell people, you start with trying to tell them no, this and no that, then you stop trying to tell them.
Right, because they don't listen.
They
don't.
Well.
And you're like, all right, well, you know.
Oh well.
I'll let you learn on your own. I lament that we don't live to be 500 years old. Because we don't. At 100, you really are just beginning to get a grasp.
100 is not
things.
very old.
No. It's an infant. Imagine if you lived to be 500, 600, 800 years old. What you would be able to do. How much more.
How smart was Methuselah?
That's where I'm headed. Yeah. Just imagine.
Oh my goodness! At this, they were still having children at this age. At 100. They were still having children. They were youngsters.
It takes a long time to program, teach a human being. They're very, very slow learners, but they learn through experience. They're experiential. So you have to go through things, and 80 years, 90 years is just not enough time.
So how did we
it's
get
just
that?
Not enough time.
Well, biblically, how did we get down to 90 years, 70 years?
Sin.
45 years. Not too long ago, a 45-year-old. That's how long we lived. 45
All right.
years.
Well, we're going up.
We're going up
because of good different health practices. But all right. Well, Jonathan Small is here. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Miss Cleo, thank you. I'll see you next week.
Okay, I'll surely be here.
All right, my friends, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Stick and stay. In the beginning, praise God. Jay Hogart.
Hopefully everything is all set with my shirt, man. Looking at myself and trying to get everything together with the gear. I'm very particular.
John is using the on-air camera for a mirror.
I guess so. I thought looking at the bathroom mirror, but it looks a little different when you get in front of the camera mirror. But I have to go with the flow.
Yeah, the good lighting.
Good lighting.
Yeah, you got lighting. It makes it a little different.
Right.
Let's zoom in a little bit. Focus up here. There you go. There it is. There it is. There it is. Okay. Right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
That looks good.
So again, happy belated birthday, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Hope you had a nice day yesterday.
I worked.
Yeah, I think you was telling me that.
Yeah, I worked. But that's what I like to do. I had a production yesterday.
Oh.
So I was looking forward to the production. I like shoots.
So that's like a birthday gift.
It was a great birthday gift.
A great birthday gift.
I get paid.
Oh yeah, anytime you get compensated, man.
Yeah, so
and everything.
But beyond that, it's a fun production.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. Well, it's a lot of drama. The whole thing is, the whole production is drama.
It was an all-day production, you did?
Oh, no. I had to be on location at 4, and I was home by 9.
Oh, okay. So you spent kind of
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, 6 hours.
Was it a local production or out of town?
It was in Hartford.
Oh, okay. So that's local.
This particular client, I've gone all over the state for, but yesterday, the event they were doing was held in Hartford.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I did not have to go far.
Yeah. I guess the day was a little cold, but not too bad yesterday.
It wasn't too bad. The thing that would hem me up is the elevator being out of service.
So you had to walk up the stairs.
I would have, but the elevator worked.
It worked. Okay.
Right. I've done shoots at this venue in the past, and the elevator didn't work.
Right.
But it was more of a single camera type thing. That there's 3 flights of steps.
Yeah, and carrying the camera.
All of that there, that first row of red boxes, right there there.
Okay.
That's what I have to carry upstairs.
Oh boy,
that's a lot of stuff.
One at a time. Yeah, but still, it probably has some weight in it.
Yes, especially the bottom box, because the cameras are in there.
Well, Scooby, sometimes you gotta look at it as a workout, though.
It's a good workout. I can be narrow, but I can lift up stuff.
Oh yeah, keep you in shape. Lifting. Yep. It's like lifting weights to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite the same, but it's kind of like a offset of if you don't lift weights.
Yeah, you
have things like that to lift. Well, again, I'm glad you are well blessed, man. Healthy wise and everything, your mind and everything.
My mind is working.
It's working, so that counts a lot.
Yeah, the older you get, the more the older people say makes sense. We hear people talk about thank God I got up with my right mind and the use of my limbs. That's real.
Right.
It's real because there's people that get up in the morning, they can't use their limbs. Your arm not working right because there's something that's miscommunicating in your brain. You don't remember. So the older you get, the more you have an appreciation for that. When you're younger, that sounds just like old people. You dismiss it. But
yeah. Well, definitely, man. You look well and healthy wise, man. Always working, like you say, man. That's a saying a lot too.
Yeah.
For the length of time that you've been working.
I love it.
You love it, yeah.
I love it. I'm on a panel discussion tonight in Manchester, which should be. I'm really looking forward to that. That should be interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the panel discussion is regarding anything.
It's on time.
On time? Oh, time. Okay.
Time.
That's a little
The
different.
subject is time from a spiritual point of view. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you was going to ask me something. How was my
I was going to
weekend?
ask you, how was your weekend?
Working hard trying to find a guest. I'll tell you that up front. You know, when
Jonathan, finding guests for Jonathan is a serious undertaking. He enjoys finding the guests, I think, more than talking to the guests.
It depends. I mean, that could vary. Sometimes that might come across, but when you have a guest already booked for Friday and they tell you that they can't do it, now that kind of gives. And then trying to do an all about you show, some little bit more effort you got to put in to get a certain guest. So I really spent 2 to 3. I mean, I was doing other things. Don't get me wrong, but until I really nail it down, man, I'm not at peace. You know,
I can imagine because Tuesday at 11 gets closer and closer with each passing minute.
Exactly. But everything worked out. We have a returning guest and his bio show now, so I'm really looking forward to this because I want to balance it. I didn't want to just say bail out, just do another face-to-face show. Because I have a guest already lined up for a face-to-face show. Actually, this housing expert. Remember, we were always talking about dealing with the housing, this housing expert. So, and speaking of housing, I mean, it's like every other day you see an article about housing, whether it's the market rate housing or the lack of affordable rate housing or just housing is not available. Some article came in the Current yesterday. Well, I don't know if it was the Current or the Hartford Business Journal, and they was talking about how the rental market in Hartford has gone up. And this Tinker Insurance, Keith Tinker, he was involved, and I guess he made a statement about the article. But I don't think it's just a little.
What was his statement?
Well, he just said that the demand, I mean, how it was like maybe $800 a few years ago, the same place now can almost be doubled. And I just think people don't realize how the rental market is just skyrocketed.
Well, if it goes from 800 to 16, that means that the demand is there to drive the price up.
It is.
Which means that for the foreseeable future, at least, or the immediate future, just what's over the horizon, looks real good. Just solid demand. So if you have more people that want a thing than there are,
yes,
the price and value of it increases.
That's probably the same with home ownership too, because sometimes we focus just on the rental market, but the home ownership rate is almost the same thing. I mean, I've been looking at some places throughout the country, and actually a relative just had to leave South Florida because of the rental market just skyrocketed. It's just doubled. So this person now had to leave South Florida. So
either we're having a whole lot of children that are coming of age that need houses, or there are a whole lot more people in the country that are displacing people that have houses. The skyrocketing need for houses would seemingly be an interesting phenomenon, because if the young people coming onto the housing market, the need for rental market, graduating college, high school, trade school, and they're leaving their parents and then going out on their own, there should be people who are passing on into eternity that are opening up, so that there's this flow. The housing stock grows at a steady rate, but so do people grow at a steady rate. Now, if you have a influx of human beings all of a sudden, millions of new people in the country, where are they gonna live? They can only live in places that are around. And if you put them in houses that are emergency, well, the people that were in emergency housing have to go somewhere.
Yeah, but see, I think it's way broader, and that's why this housing expert, I mean, I know he wants to focus on the development projects that he has been involved with, but I think it's way broader than that. The story about what took place in East Hartford, where they had the apartments and the people were out of, I guess they didn't have any heat for a couple of days. And
well, there's no excuse for that.
Yeah, but all of these are tied into housing. See, you can be in a house and still have issues.
You can get heat. You can get heat. You can get heat. There was a house over on what's the street over there off of Farmington? off of Asylum Street, Willard.
Willard Street.
There was a building on Willard Street, apartment building, maybe 15 or 20 unit. They didn't have any hot water.
Right.
And someone had called me about it, so I went over there, and I called them, and they gave me some lame answer. So I went as the press. Then suddenly they changed. But the problem was the boiler was gone. They had a big boiler. And this is not like the kind of boiler you run off to Home Depot and get. And so the problem was the boiler had gone. They were waiting for parts. But there was no real push for it because the people that owned the building were like out of New York.
That's common too. A lot of out-of-state landlords.
Right. So finally they escalated the urgency, and then they finally got a new boiler in there. But these things can be prevented if there's proper maintenance.
Yeah.
So I don't consider that. I mean, those are emergencies. Those people aren't homeless. They're just displaced for the moment.
Yeah, but there's a lot of issues with substandard housing in general. Even though you may have people in a house dealing with the landlords, monitoring everything that needs to be monitored and operating normally. You really get into substandard housing issues and see how some people are living. It's common to have many structural issues. It could be fixed, yes.
Right.
Do the landlords always fix it? It's not that simple.
It is that simple.
To court, it takes time to get the landlord.
See, this is. Are there substandard airplanes flying around the United States?
Well, I think I just heard recently. Well, I don't know if it was substandard airplane.
The door blew
The door blew up. I don't know if that's substandard.
There was a door that was. It's a door, but it's not a door. But it's from the inside you wouldn't know it was a door. But on the outside, of course, it is a door. The door blew open. What happened? The FAA grounded all of the 737s. Grounded them. Mandatory stop, ground, and inspection. And as they're inspected and cleared, they can go back into air. There's ways to fix stuff if that's what you want to do.
Well, you have the housing. I guess you have the housing authority. You have departments that deal with housing issues. So there's no disputing that stand about that. Now, are they going to automatically shut down every substandard building just like that, like the FAA did with the airplanes? I don't think normally that's how things operate. I know where you're coming from. If you was in charge or you was in a position to be of influence, you would definitely make sure that these things get shut down and fixed. And that's the added. And you got great landlords throughout the country that
we're not talking about the great landlords. We're talking about the ones that aren't.
Well, that's equal substandard. Again, I mean, I say this in nauseum. Unfortunately, that substandard housing is a reality because, again, older properties, people sometimes are in desperate situations where they can't afford decent, normal housing where you don't have these issues. So like a broken down car, you kind of know what you're getting into. You buy an old broken down car.
You know what you get into when you move into a substandard
you do.
rat and roach infested house too.
Right. But it's a pick and choose thing. You homeless. Do you want to go to a shelter or do you want to stay outside? So if people feel like this is the best that they can do, understand where people are coming from.
No. I'm not trying to be insensitive, but if you're homeless and the choices are shelter and you're living under a bridge, or you got some drug addiction, or you have some real deep social issues that cause you to say, all right, I'm going to go live in a rat and roach infested place. Well, the landlord of the rat and roach infested place knows you're not going to complain.
Right.
There's ways to get this stuff fixed if that's what people want, but they don't really want to, Jonathan. Otherwise, this stuff will be fixed.
I don't know about that because I think when A.J. Johnson took the lead on the substandard housing on Barber Street, he was able to work with different sources, and sometimes people got to know who to turn to. Don't assume that everybody knows.
Where are those
everything.
people living now?
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I don't know exactly where the people are living, but those buildings have been dramatically improved.
And now they're what market rate?
I don't know about market rate. I've seen signs where they say rental markets start off at 900, so I don't think it's a market rate. Whether that's a valid price, but
well, those buildings were sold to different owners.
Mm-hmm.
They went through a whole lot of stuff to get those people out. The city could have gone in there and taken care of business right from the rip. Right from the jump. They had to go through all those hoops, this, that, and the third. We do have a housing crisis. Part of the housing crisis means that, you have agencies like HUD and things like that are complicit.
Yeah.
Because they're paying rent to landlords that aren't doing right. It's in my endeavor to be humble opinion, thus saith stand not necessarily the truth. This is a combination of incompetence and corruption.
Yeah.
And if people want it to stop, it can stop.
Right.
Other than that, people can complain for the next 40 years.
Well, the people on Barber Street, they worked with A.J. Johnson, and they got something done. So you don't put everybody in the boat. I'm using that as an example of something that was substandard, and it got resolved.
You're making my point.
So everything should operate like that. Then if you got a substandard housing problem,
right,
and the landlord is not willing to fix it, you have to work with community activists and let them.
You got to do something, Jonathan.
Right. Well, I think it was done. I mean, but again, I don't want to say it like this simplistic. Don't put yourself in everybody's situation until you've walked in their shoes, because you could still realize, even though I haven't been in that situation, you're not going to tolerate that. I mean, you mentioned in the past about somebody complaining to you that you was walking.
Oh, I'll move in a heartbeat.
Right.
But that's me.
Right, that's you. And I mean, that's what I'm saying. So we can't put. It's easy sometimes to say exactly what you would do, but I think the leadership part is very vital. That these things shouldn't be operating the way they operate. That's the bigger picture.
But there's still an issue here. I know what I need to do when the car tire is flat.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that I don't have the physical strength to get the wheel off doesn't change what needs to be done.
Right.
There is a way to get this car fixed. Get the tire off and put the spare on. But if you can't get the spare off, that doesn't mean like the solution is different. You just need to get someone else that can help you with that solution.
Well, I think
the solution remains the same.
And I think that's where community activists and people like A.J. Johnson and other people definitely are needed, and they come in handy. Sometimes they have the ability to set up meetings, get things done that you just may not be always aware of. Now, I'm not trying to make excuses for people, but sometimes, if I got a major problem with the state legislative and I want something done immediately that's beyond my control, okay, let me get in contact with Speaker Matt Ritter. Let me get in contact with some elected official that has a strong or powerful voice than I have. So don't fault me or anybody else if they feel like, okay, individually they may not be able to get something instantly done just like that, but if they know who to target and who to reach,
then you're working on it.
That's what I'm saying.
We're not in disagreement.
Okay.
At all.
Right.
If there's substandard housing, then we get it fixed. How you get it fixed is a secondary issue. Not realizing that you need to get it fixed is what I'm talking about. There's no reason for people to continue to live in substandard housing.
But is it almost the same thing as saying, and I hate to put people in this situation, you pay for what you get. If you're paying $800 a month, this is what you expect. I mean, that still shouldn't be the case, right?
It to some degree, because there's, if you living with gangsters and drug dealers,
yeah,
they have to live somewhere.
But I mean, if you're paying $800 a month, do you deserve substandard housing just because you only pay?
I don't think anyone deserves substandard housing, but the reality is that there are places that you can rent for very, very cheap that aren't really nice.
Right.
And if you need a place to stay, just like there's hotels and motels you could go stay at that aren't nice. They're not the Waldorf.
Well, but we got to learn to separate.
Or Hilton. It's some little hole in the wall, raggedy place that's nasty.
Right.
But the rent there is cheap.
But even with all that, you still should have proper heat and water. I'm not saying it has to be a luxury rental, but heat and hot water should be mandatory, right?
Heat and hot water is mandatory, Jonathan.
Yeah,
but that don't mean it's working. And you know that when you get to the door and they tell you they ain't got no heat or hot water. If you want to stay here, it's $20.
Yeah.
You don't have to stay there.
Well, I thought those were against the law to have places.
It is, but are you gonna go? So you gonna take yourself down to the police department and turn these people in? No.
Well,
because you're looking for not you.
Yeah.
But the person's looking for the place to live.
But once you sign a lease, this is where everything should be stopped at. Okay, it's one thing to know what you're getting into before you move into a place. You sign a lease agreement for a rental unit or whatever type of housing, you should make sure that this place supplies the basic necessity. I'm not talking about a luxury rental unit. I'm just saying, don't come back and tell me, water.
It's got to be me. There's not a lease on the planet that's going to make me stay somewhere and pay rent for a place I'm not willing to live in.
Right.
I don't understand the mindset.
Well, no, but keep in mind the woman on Farmington Avenue at the Clemens place. She got misled into believing that the unit was.
I'd have moved out of there in a heartbeat. I wouldn't have given it a second. She moved all the way up here from Texas.
I thought it was California.
California? She moved here from way out of state. I know that. So she moved all the way up here. And now she's living over there and she's unhappy with the place and she's going to continue to stay there?
Yeah. Well, your mentality. You just don't. And that's a good thing when people have a certain mentality that they don't tolerate. Now, you do got to have choices. Now, sometimes you move, you got to have another alternative to move to.
I moved to Manchester if I have to. I'll move to Marlboro. I'll move to New Haven. There's no way in the world that I will continue to be in a place where I am uncomfortable. It's just not happening.
Right.
Under any circumstance.
And you would like that to be advocated for all people.
I can't speak for all people. I can only speak for me. I don't understand why somebody would stay in a place. I have a very good friend of mine. He send me email. He probably might be watching. He sends me emails all the time complaining about where he lives. I don't even answer them. Mm-hmm. He's been talking about this place and how horrible it is for 4 years.
Well, housing for people is a bigger. It gets into so many other areas.
He understands and knows housing at a level I won't talk about unless I give him away. Better than most people in housing. Mm-hmm. So if you choose to stay in a place that you're uncomfortable in, that's a decision you make.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, look at the alternatives again and this is where you get into poor people and you get into people with limited resources. You have people for all different sectors that have issues, limited to no work history. So anything you have as a deficiency is going to reduce sometime where you can move to. Don't always put yourself from where you're coming from, because if you have proper income, proper work history, because they're very strict now for most decent housing places. So you got to have proof of income. You have to make 3 times the rent to market.
Yeah.
So this is why we have people staying in, you can say substandard housing, but you can just say housing in inner city conditions in general. And then you break that beyond just even housing.
Some rural housing conditions are just like the inner city. You might be living in a single wide.
Right.
That's got roofing issues. Don't think like rural people living in the rural parts of the country don't have the same kind of problem.
Right. Housing all across the board, and social economic factors all across the board. Mm-hmm. But you could speak for yourself. You could say, even recently with the mother whose teenage son was involved in a stolen car and ends up getting killed, it's easy sometimes for people to say, well, there's no way in the world my son would be into some stolen car.
I can't say that.
You wouldn't say, okay, well, that's good that you don't judge people.
I can't say that for a multitude of reasons. One, I have no control over what my children do.
Right.
So I can't say my son would never. I could say I would never.
Right.
But I can't say what other people would never do.
Right.
I do know this, that the singular individual has far more control over their life and their circumstances than they are allowing themselves to exercise.
Well, the circumstances with this incident, when the mother came on television with Deborah Johnson standing next to her at the press conference, she indicating that her son didn't realize that the car that he got into, they were going to go look to steal a car. He made a bad judgment decision, I guess, going into a car with maybe he knew the car was stolen, but something I think towards the line of looking to steal another car and some other factors he didn't realize, or her son didn't realize, or it could have been, she said, I have to remember exactly, her son didn't realize the car that he got into was stolen. So again, that's still questionable. You get into a car, you know this guy doesn't probably have a driver's license, they're underage, so you can see the red flags. You know, you're 14 years old, maybe you're immature, you're not thinking. So even the mother and the other relative said he made a bad judgment decision. But she was trying to say, well, he wasn't looking to go out there and steal another car and do other destructive things. He just was going to go for a little joyride and have a little fun. How you were standing at 14 years old, you know, I guess you know right from wrong. You know, you knew what you would do and what you wouldn't do from what you had just said. We have a lot of teenagers growing up who really don't have no discipline.
I was 14 and dumb.
Yeah, but you didn't get into no stolen
16.
cars.
No, I didn't get into stolen cars, but I would take things that didn't belong to me from the store I worked at.
Right. So
they got caught.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, kids make mistakes. They do stupid things. Unfortunately, sometimes kids and grown folks make those mistakes, and the mistakes are irreversible.
But we have a big problem in Connecticut of kids, juveniles, stealing cars and driving recklessness. And then that's I don't know what legislative law you're looking at now, getting more tougher. What you think that's the answer?
I think that we have a societal breakdown in many areas, which we have talked about ad nauseum over the years, and there are ways to prevent these things from happening, as opposed to reacting to them when they become the new societal norm. You have to prevent them from becoming the societal norm. If you have a society where there are no consequences for bad actions, then bad actions become acceptable. And now you'd want to unpack and turn all that stuff back. It takes time.
Is preventing things getting tougher on the laws, charging teenagers as adults?
No, you have a consequence. It doesn't mean you got to go to jail, but if there's no consequence, then young people will do whatever they want. This is not new.
So if a young person gets into a stolen car and he gets arrested, what's the consequence that should be to prevent this from happening again? That's
like I said, these are deep conversations, deep situations. We've had them here on this program. I've had them with people for the last 14 years in this city. Now, brighter minds than mine seem to be able to have a solution to this.
Right.
I'm telling you, there are ways to implement consequences.
But
they don't have to be draconian, but there has to be something.
Yeah, but you got to be upfront and say exactly what should happen. I mean, it's one thing.
It's just a case by case thing, Jonathan.
Yeah.
At this point, we have a systemic breakdown. And signals are being sent from all over the place that you can do whatever you want, and there are no consequences. If people see high-ranking members of the clergy going out, fornicating, raping little boys and little girls, and get away with it, it sends a signal that, I guess I could get away with that. If you have high-ranking government officials doing these kinds of things, I guess I can get away with that. If I could shoot off fireworks in the middle of a pandemic at the police and speed and do all kinds of reckless stuff and nobody does anything, maybe I could get away with that. If I could go into a store, loot, steal everything in sight, and put it in a cart, walk past security and the police, then maybe someone might think, you know what? I could probably get away with that.
Yeah.
You don't just turn that off. You don't let it happen.
Right.
There are no consequences for the actions. And we have baked that into the society where schools no longer chastise or have a consequence for actions. They talk to children.
Yeah.
And they try to reason with them. And if that's all I'm going to get is a talking to, then I'll sit there and listen to them.
Well, I'll tell you.
So,
But let me put me.
We've had these conversations.
Yeah, but one thing you're saying is society issues. When you met me in Barber Elementary School, if I acted up, Miss Cody, or I don't know if you remember this lady named Miss Turner. She was some type of supervisor. We would get paddled. And I dare not go home and tell my mother, I acted up and they paddled me. I just had to take it, because it's going to be another consequence when you go home. So everything might be contributed towards a societal breakdown.
And you were paddled by someone who loved you.
Right.
Because Birdie Cody loved those children. She wasn't paddling them because she was mean or bad-spirited.
Yeah. Well, she would actually send you up to Miss Turner. I don't know. You probably don't all remember this lady. And then sometime even the principal that we had.
I got spanked at school.
Right.
For playing in industrial arts, in wood shop, where all these machines were, and we were clowning around, and all three of us got spanked.
Yeah. But unfortunately, things over the years got worse with DCF and then child abuse and things. And that's too deep along to get into that because we're running out of time, I can see. But you hit it when you're saying it's a complete societal
societal breakdown. And if we don't put the brakes on and make some drastic changes very, very quickly, there will be no coming back.
And you don't like talking about things that you can't fix,
I'm not going to talk about things I can't fix because it's a waste of my time. And I don't let people waste my time more than once.
Although people like Reverend Brown will tell you everybody needs to get involved. He will.
They do need to get involved. Now get them involved.
Okay.
See, it's easy to talk about what they need to do. It's a whole other thing getting them involved.
Exactly.
As you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But all right, man. I appreciate being part of Morning Talk Live with Jay Stan McCauley Talk Show.
Maybe we need to make it longer, or maybe this is just enough talk. I don't know.
Right.
All right, Jonathan.
Okay.
All right, my friends, we're out of time. We'll see you all here next week for my little morning conversation with my two friends, Jonathan and Cleo. Mm-hmm. And God bless you, Sister Bishop Smith. She said good morning. Oh. All right. We will see you all next time. Stay tuned. 11 o'clock, Jonathan will be back here for All About You. All right. Let Jay Hogart and company take us out.